Hey everybody, it's Ron, and today I'm going to be reviewing another Conan story by Robert E. Howard called Queen of the Black Coast. This is one of the original short stories featuring Conan, and it was published in Weird Tales magazine in 1934. I've discussed and reviewed a couple Conan stories already, which you can find in the Conan Book Club playlist linked below. I find myself more and more attracted to these kind of stories because you can read them in any order if you want to. This is another standalone adventure for Conan, and sometimes it's nice to not get bogged down with continuity and just enjoy a story with a beginning, middle, and end. The edition that I'm reading from has nice illustrations, and I always like to stare at the first image and guess what the story is going to be about. And for this one, I was completely wrong. I just assumed it would be a standard pirate story with Conan getting captured by them and maybe saving a girl from them as well, but it gets so much weirder than that, and I loved it. The story starts out with Conan riding a horse and being chased by the authorities after he killed a judge who sentenced him with the killing of a guardsman. This is just a throwaway scenario to get Conan on a ship, but it establishes Conan as someone you do not want to mess with, and I like that even the law can't bring him down because of his ferocity. This little section tells you everything you need to know about Conan right away, and it reminds me of that old rule with comic books to make every issue make sense by itself because it could be someone's first book. And Robert E. Howard definitely has that mentality, aside from a couple throwaway references to a larger world. Tito, the captain of the ship Conan happened to come upon, eventually lets Conan board his ship named the Argus. But it's only a matter of time until they're raided by a band of pirates once they set out to sea. This is where the action really picks up because Conan viciously fights his way through the pirates, but eventually he is outnumbered. I thought this was the point that he'd be taken as one of their prisoners, and the rest of the story would revolve around Conan trying to free himself. But this is where the story takes an interesting turn because we're introduced to the Queen of the Black Coast herself, a Shemite named Beilit. And she is very intrigued by Conan and not only saves him from being slaughtered, but offers Conan a position as her king, because she quickly takes a liking to him. So like I said, I was not expecting this at all, and it's really interesting how Conan just goes with the flow in these early stories. He basically agrees right away and joins Beilit. It's implied that Conan has been pillaging with this crew for a decent chunk of time, and the basic premise of this story shifts once again when Beilit tells Conan about an ancient city up the Sarkiba River. The writing in this section is really great and moody, as Howard describes the dark and unnerving riversides that Conan and his crew travel down. But my one tiny criticism is they're eventually attacked by an unknown creature that turns out to be a serpent, and I kind of wish it was something else because I feel like Conan has fought some type of serpent in most of these early stories so far, and it's starting to get a little repetitive. But luckily Howard creates better creatures for Conan to battle with later on in the story. I loved the setting of the ancient temple, and Beilit orders her men to investigate. When her men try to open an altar, they're crushed and killed, but Beilit gets some treasure out of it. After these events, the next creature is introduced, and I like this way better because it's a winged ape, which is a lot different than anything I've read in a Conan story so far. So that was intriguing. I also liked the decision to have Conan split up from his crew for a while, and he ends up going under a spell when he accidentally runs into a black lotus. This is where things get really interesting and trippy, and the winged ape is explained when Conan has visions of an ancient winged race who lived in the city long ago. I think they're even referred to as the old ones or the ancient ones, and I wonder if this is when Howard started to be influenced a bit by Lovecraft and started incorporating those elements into his stories. So this little origin is pretty cool. It's basically these beings mutated from an earthquake that poisoned them and turned them into the winged ape-like creatures, but in this story there's only one that survived this whole time. The creature starts stalking and attacking the crew, and Conan eventually finds Beilet's body. Conan is an interesting character because there's a slight hint that he's upset about the death of Beilet, but he never seems to get too emotional about these things because that's not really the character. He's pretty stone cold for the most part, but that doesn't mean he won't seek revenge. The rest of this story kind of reminded me of Predator, where Arnold has to face the Predator by himself, and it's the same type of vibe, only Conan patiently waits for the creature to arrive, and this time it shows up with other hyena-like creatures, which gives Conan a pretty hard time. This is a really epic section, but in a totally different way than a Conan story like The Scarlet Citadel, for example, which I also recommend, but this story has a smaller scale to it. The climax consists of Beilet returning basically as a ghost to help Conan fight off these creatures. And this doesn't just come out of nowhere because Howard does set this scenario up in an earlier conversation between Beilet and Conan. So yeah, a lot of cool mystical elements in this one mixed with Conan just straight up fighting monsters. You really can't go wrong with this. It's a quick read. It's fun. It doesn't require you to read any other Conan stories to understand it, which I like to stress on all of these Conan reviews. So if you're looking to get into Conan, definitely check this story out. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content, and thanks for watching. Hey everyone, it's Ron here with a quick announcement. When I started this channel, I was reading and reviewing the Dune books and other sci-fi related material, and most of you might not know that I'm also a musician. So when I was reading these sci-fi books, I started to get inspired and decided to make my own soundtrack to use for my videos, and now I'm excited to tell you all about the first volume in the Ron Reviews original soundtrack collection. This album includes the first 17 tracks featured on my channel, and it's available now exclusively on Bandcamp. Be sure to check the description of this video for the link to the album. Thanks so much for the support so far. I know I'm just starting out, but I hope you're having as much fun as I am. So check out the original soundtrack Volume 1 on Bandcamp. This music is great if you want something moody and atmospheric to listen to while you're reading some science fiction. I think you're going to love it. Thanks.